Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and today we're going to have a very interesting lesson. We're going to be talking about middle game. Yeah, when has that been? Well, some of you are perhaps bored with some of my middle game lessons because this is probably what I teach best. I have had many different lectures on, attacking, defending, evaluating, planning, attacking, defending in this game. A lot of different topics I've covered. But, today I'd like to talk about something more practical. I don't want to just teach you general concepts. Okay, today I'd like to show you like 5 key points. So we're going to talk about positional weaknesses and how to exploit them practically, like in a real game, while of course avoiding any concessions and bad stuff yourself. Then we're going to see how masters find a way to constantly improve the quality of their pieces and how to make them more advanced and more powerful than the opponent, so that can help them dominate. Now we're going to see very effectively the practical part of planning an attack. Just how to think exactly what thoughts you need to hold in your mind. And more importantly, the two last themes we're going to cover are how to find the balance while progressing your plan and sort of preventing the opponent. Finally, how to spot what are the different techniques of seeing or spotting key squares or files and diagonals. Now, I know that it's a lot of material, but don't worry, I have prepared some really good stuff for you guys. And remember, this will all be practical, so I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. And I do encourage you all to join me on the chat. Beneath the video, there's a chat window, so you can actually join me there, and you can ask, any questions or provide your feedback or thoughts on anything you see. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have about positions. So before we start, I also want to say there is a bunch of incredibly instructive, like videos that are offered at a great price. It's right beneath the video. You're actually going to get 60% off the Mega Bundle Manifesto. You can check it up. It has more than 70 hours, if I'm not mistaken, 70 hours or 75 hours of training lessons by Grandmasters. It's amazing, and it's offered at an incredible price. So check it out. I'm going to send a link so you can see it too. So what are we going to start with? Well, we'll start with the game I played. Some of you have seen that game, some of you haven't. But I think this game will very well illustrate some of the key ideas of balancing. Like, how do you balance your position well? So let me show it to you, and let me try to bring up some insight on how I was able to do it. So we're going to see, this was actually one of my more recent games, so to speak. So give me 1 second. I'm going to copy it. It's a game I won. I actually had a chance to win against a grandmaster. I say recent because I haven't played much since then, actually. This was the tournament I got my last international master norm, and I became an official international master. Even though I have a rating to fight for a grandmaster, I've been teaching mostly. So there's my game, and I have white. Now, I've made a lecture before in this game, before like a few years when I won it, but it was different. I covered it from just a commentary perspective. Today, I'd like to bring it from a different side. I want to show you the thought process, okay? So this is very different. All right, so I played C4. Back in the time, I loved playing the English opening, and more specifically a system known as the Botvinnik. I still keep playing it, and I still like it, although more rarely, because as I said, I'm playing mostly online now. But the thing about this is that it's incredibly easy, and almost on any level you can expect to get a fast, straightforward development and great conditions for each piece you got. So I played knight e2, and my opponent did a6. So we'll start with the first question that I have for you guys, and it's this one. What exactly do you think white is supposed to do? Let's see if you have any thoughts or if you have any suggestions. What should white try? Okay, so if you have any thoughts or recommendation, now is a good time for you to say it. I'd be very happy to answer it. Okay, how old are you, Pete? Please. Okay, me. I'm only 25, I think. Yes. Anyway, going back. Okay, castling is a nice idea. I agree. Castling isn't bad. In fact, it's probably going to help out in this position because it will just let the king get to safety. Why not? Like it seems like a reasonable idea. Not bad. I certainly do agree that this is a good suggestion, but I didn't want to do this. You see, I was thinking of something much better, much easier. Instead of just going for a castling, I played alongside the move of pawn to a4, and that I loved. I really did. Now, why did I love that move? Because it's actually easy to see what it does. It covers the b5 square, so black doesn't get to move anywhere along that line. It covers that. And also because black can't play with the b5, I can also castle at any point. So you see, I have the ability to castle anytime I want, and I'll likely do it. But first of all, the more important thing is let's take the time to restrict. Let's take the opportunity to solidify. And when the time is right, I will play the castling. Sure. A4. Now, when can you allow yourselves to make moves like that, restrictive or attacking moves before you've developed? When you feel the position is more closed, when you have English openings, sometimes Queen's Gambit, when there are no tactics and you feel your opponent's behind, then you can allow yourself to do that. Not every time, though. So you played A5, I castled, and then he played e5. This time I thought that it may be a good idea to play g4 so that the bishop comes out to e3, so it's pretty straightforward moves. I get the development, and I really encourage you to try the system in your games. It's super easy. It requires no time for you to figure it out. It's just most of the pieces really come out, and I did it very well. Queen d2 is what I played next, knight c5, and rook a to d1. So that's basically what I wanted. Just let's get every piece where it belongs. I didn't want to start anything before my development's complete, and when it was actually complete, I told myself this is it. This is the time where I'm supposed to do something, where I'm supposed to go in some way. So let's see if any of you guys have a suggestion of what white has to do. Now, if you know this opening or if you know this game, I do encourage you not to say, because it just, yeah, it's not useful. Just those of you who don't know or you're not sure what white has to do, just provide your feedback and suggestion, and I will comment on it. So what do we do in the early middle game stage? How to play? Does a4 just weaken b5 and b4? It does weaken b4, but consider that the weak square is only weak if there is a way for the opposite side to exploit it. Unfortunately for black, b4 was never really something that he could use to challenge me. Even if he goes back with his knight, it's still not going to work all that well. So I didn't have to bother or feel that much worried about it. Free to white bishop, I don't mind that. I think it's a nice idea, but how do we do that? Bishop g5 maybe? Yeah, well, I wasn't going to achieve anything with this. I would have pinned the knight that doesn't even want to be like free. d4, sure, but then you would trade it. You know, I didn't like that because he might trade it, and then after the trading, he will attack my pawn on e4. So I wasn't feeling really great about that d4. Bishop h6 makes a good sense, but then black would do bishop h8, so that also doesn't seem to work. And g4 could perhaps work out, I agree, with an intention of knight g3, not bad. But it's all these moves did not seem to help out in the long run. What I wanted to do was f4. And now if you think of it that way, f4 is pretty nice. For first, I'm going to get ready for f5 and then eventually g4 to advance. Second, those two rooks that I got will easily help me to gain a lot of space and momentum on the king side. So eventually after rook f2, f5, g4, knight g3, and even rook f1, it's not going to take a long time really before I can bring it all. And more importantly than that, every single piece is moving alongside the king side. So it's great. black played edict f. See, in the early middle game stage, it's quite valuable when we start advancing. And I'm not saying about just attacking the opponent, because that's a common mistake a lot of people do. It's not about that. It's much more just about advancing, like gaining more space and controlling more squares and having more, freedom to challenge the opponent. And in some way, that's exactly what I wanted. So like with the move of f4, there is a great idea of planning along with f5 to moving ahead on the king's side, and it just really looks good. So why not? Let's do it, and let's enjoy a comfortable position. So convenient attack, so to speak, on the king's side. Yeah, well, that kind of worked. After the move f4, black took on f4, and then I recaptured with my bishop, so he did bishop to d7. Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't want to let me have, apparently, to go on with my f5 idea, so he just exchanged, went up in with the bishop on d7, and now black's preparing also to go ahead with rook d8. That will further get him maybe bishop c8, knight e6, or some moves. So that would be looking good. So I'd like to know, what do you think white should do now? Where is white supposed to go next, and what do you think he must go ahead for? He must go do? Okay. Now let's see. It looks like a bit like Magnus Carlsen's game in Today Olympiad. Yeah, you marched with all the F, G, and H pawns. Totally, I agree with that. It's a great thing to do. How do you tell when or where you should break open the position with your pawns? It's very easy. Think about the development. Think about how much preparation you have. If you don't have any development, any preparation, you better don't do that. If you do have enough preparation, good development, and control, of course you can go for it. It always depends. But I think that we do have some pretty solid development at this point. So yeah, maybe we can try a move like g4, knight g3, bishop g5, but I didn't want that. One of the important phases of bringing your position even further is the ability to coordinate. Now, while coordination is theoretically a general idea, many people don't understand it, and they don't understand how it works. It actually works in a very simple way. When it comes down to coordination, just remember that it is all about making sure your pieces can get together and help each other. That's basically it. If you can make sure that this happens, the rest will be easy. Knight d4 may not be bad, but then you just jump with the knight somewhere and attack the knight or whatever. No, I didn't want that. I played rook f2. And in some way, you realize after rook f1, the rooks are going to have the perfect coordination, so I can start attacking the f file. It's really easy, and you guys can do it. I know you can do it. Just give yourselves the time to improve your position, to strengthen your pieces, and get to that point. I knew that rushing wouldn't work. He was a grandmaster. He was 25-60. So basically, my idea was just to take the time, build up the position, and get my pieces forward until I have some targets or some possibilities to attack. So bishop h6 was a good move for me. Naturally, if black exchanges the bishop, I was going to take with the queen. That's what I call often by advancing or expanding. What does that really mean? It means taking the opportunity to get your pieces closer and just be strong, just be good. You can do it in many different ways, but really what we want is just to stay strong. Bishop h6 was perfect now. He actually did a strong knight b3 move in order to challenge my queen. And then after queen e3, he exchanged, takes, and then he played with bishop e6. So I've reached a pretty good game. My queen is perfect. I've exchanged the dark square bishop. That was, weakness for him. I also got a lot of great pieces on the line. I mean, the truth is, it's a really, really strong type of position. So I got a lot. I really did. But I made a mistake. And I want to go right back. So let's see if you can find a mistake. My opponent did knight b3 here. Now, the move I did was pretty simple and good. I thought that it was the best, and even now when I fought for it, I didn't remember. Now I did, and there was a move that could have given me a huge advantage. Let's see if you guys can find it. It's a small move, Very important, very tricky, but I could win the game right here and now. Hmm. Could advancing, just expanding your position, help you as much? Yes, it can, as long as you can do this and you're consistent with it. But yeah, I missed the move. Is queen g5 the move? No, not really, because if I just play queen g5, I guess you can respond with something simple. Like imagine queen g5. You can just do knight h5, you know? You can just exchange the queens or challenge my bishop. I don't mind it, but it's really not going to do as much. So let's see if there is anything else. Bishop takes g7. You bet. It was interesting because now if he takes my queen, I can take f6. And I can take the d2. And you realize that black's position is so bad that on the very next move, what you see is that there will be queen knight d4, and then there is a queen that's being trapped there. It's so bad. In fact, after bishop takes g7, if he takes with the king takes g7, that's the most interesting part, because you realize I could drive away the knight and then do rook f1. What black loses for right now isn't any threat. It's the pressure that he has to endure. And the pressure he has to endure is huge. If he plays back with the knight, then we can do d4 in this position. If he comes right back there, then there could be even a queen to the b3 or e5 available. So then there could be knight e4. Going back to the earlier position, you realize I missed one thing. What did I miss? You have to have a strategy to follow at all times. When we're not just talking about having a nice idea, we're talking about something consistent. Like, what do I mean by strategy? Think of what you want to do and then try to make every move as consistent as possible. This was a great idea. And you see, this is a very, very important thing in this position. I thought of queen e3 as a good move, but unfortunately that candidate just didn't quite fit. A move like bishop takes to the g7 would have been much more consistent and precise, and it would have fit my strategy, which is just to attack the opponent. That's what I had to do. And I didn't. I didn't. You see, everybody can make a mistake. It's just important to understand why that mistake is being done and how to avoid it next time. So keep on top of your mind always a specific strategy, like what are you going to do? Okay. And then think of ways or possibilities to do it, like all times. Choose to move away or stay away from that only if it's 100% necessary. And I didn't have to do it. Anyway, let's get back to the position of the bishop e6. I played rook d f1, and then he did knight d7. So now there's a lot of potential on the king side. Unfortunately, I didn't have any threats. I didn't have a way to prove that my advances were as strong or good so I can make enough trouble against him. Now that was important. So what should white do now? Does anybody have an idea where white has to advance or what he should do? Any tactical possibilities are flowing around? Well, I thought so too, but they don't. I mean, really, if you think of it, they don't. I have the queen, and I have the rooks, and I have knight f4. Yeah, sure, you're right. But then where are the tactical possibilities? Honestly, where are they? They're not here. They're not available. It's just they're around, maybe, or maybe not. I hated myself for this. I knew it. I knew something was going to happen, but it's just I couldn't quite see the real idea, the real possibility. So let's go right back to the point. So what is white supposed to do in this position? I mean, given that all the potential and the absence of threats, a lot of things are, as you say, flowing around, but certainly they're not tactical. E5, H4, G4, so many good ideas. Thank you. E5 is nice, but look, we'll take it. Then it will be F5. And I feel this move is just very uncertain. And I think that's the best way to put it. Uncertain is the best way to mention something like this because it's really uncertain. The candidate here is just going to help black to stabilize and, push back my attack. One of you gave a very good suggestion. White has to play g4, and that's the move I did. The reason why that works is because any successful plan is best executed when you get to involve pawns and pieces, and you get to combine them. The importance is that when you get to combine pawns and pieces, that will help you greatly to keep the challenge and force the opponent to stay back. What was so important for me, what was so interesting, is that I wanted to get that pawn so I can move my knight, and I'm always going to have that pawn around. So when the right time comes, I'll push it, I'll move it, I'll exchange, and that will give me the real threats that I'm looking for against the opponent. Is this going to help? I had no idea, but I knew it's a good start. So let's go. Let's get going. G4. You see, this is how you build up a middle game. You build up a middle game. You don't attack in the middle game. It's important for you to understand that. You build it up. This means step by step, you make sure the middle game actually helps out. So this is very important. And okay, after continuing with the move of pawn up to the g4, then things look good. So there's really nothing for me to worry. G4, queen f8. Now, of course, he tries to go with the trick of exchanging pieces. Now, unless you have something tangible to get, you don't want to exchange pieces. I even moved my pawn to restrict him a little bit more. Queen knight c5, queen g3. Here I realized that in some way I don't have enough threats, and I didn't like that. I had to find a way to create threats. I had to find a way to pose more problems. Despite my good position and my space and all my control, unless there is actually threats you can put, it doesn't matter. Well, at least it doesn't seem to matter. And that was true. I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know how to do it. And so, what do you think White's got to do now? Isn't the endgame the most difficult subject to study? Oh, that's a totally off the topic. But I don't think so, no. Endgames or openings are different than the middle game. So they're not that difficult. Just you need to know how to study them. Everything is not that difficult to study if you know how to study it. So one of you asked, wasn't g4 going to just worsen my bishop? I suppose it would have. But in some other way, you understand that this bishop isn't there to be active. It's there to protect the king and strengthen the center. Chase away the bishop e6, then you have rook f7 and maybe h4. The screen is showing blurred. Is it? I don't think so. Okay, let's see. Let me check it out. Does it show blurred? Okay. Maybe that's because of that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it is. Maybe you have to just change the resolution of the screen. So, okay, just tell me. Can you please sharpen the screen? Can you tell me if the screen is blurred again? Are you sure? No, a little bit. It looks fine. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it is. You have to change your resolution. If it's on 360 or 2, or less, it's going to be better now. Okay. If it just gets blurred, let me know. So that'd be okay. Okay, no worries. So let's go. I mean, what I was actually saying in this case, yeah, okay, sir, that's fine. Let's show 480, no trouble. All right. So what I was actually saying about this position, soon as the black knight came on the d4, is I needed to create threats. Okay, I can't. There's f7 that's protected. There is the bishop defending it, and there's the queen that's defending the knight. So I don't know. So start with something basic. Yeah, like forget the rest. You just need to find a move or moves that will help you pose problems. Forget the rest. I'm serious. Don't care of anything different. My plan now was just to make sure I can cause the trouble, and then I could cause the trouble by just making one move, and that was queen e3. That was a move I really liked. I really did. Why? Because it's creating a threat. And more importantly, in this position, I knew why I was doing that move. Let's start with something basic. Don't look for the big picture. Usually the big picture is not something you can see at such an early stage. You have to start with some of these little moves, quiet moves even we could call them. Queen e3 was very special for me. I created a threat, and I was hoping that after the exchange I can take back and then do d4 to d5 or something similar. In fact, I knew that he wasn't going to take it, but then I still liked the move very much. Then white played queen to the d2 in this moment. Knight c2, I played queen to the d2, knight b4, and then I actually made knight f4. Pretty strong move. Help my knight activate. It gives my rooks the real possibilities to challenge. It was very, very good. Knight b3, queen d1, knight d4, queen d2. And I waited. Sometimes it takes time and patience until new possibilities open. You have to be patient and regroup your pieces, make them work a little better, make them more advanced, so you can see the process. Step by step, I knew that it's going to take time before I can get anything there. But as soon as I keep improving and I keep getting my pieces where they belong, this is not going to be bad. So queen d2 is awesome for me. I did it. Then he played queen e5 and queen e3. I didn't see what I'm supposed to do here. I just wanted to stay well. Stay well. If I can give you one lesson from tonight that's going to make all the difference, that's the one lesson. Stay well. Keep your pieces good. Make them work and on solid positions. And in one way or another, these pieces will soon become critical. That was it. Queen e3, put more pressure on the knight. Absolutely. I'll still do h4. I'll go bishop f3 for sure. But yeah. Now you're probably thinking this is a boring game. Well, when you play strong players, it certainly is a little bit, in the beginning at least. But anyway, he thought that I was a little passive and he did d5. Now this was his biggest mistake. Why do I say that? Because it was. What I think that happened here is that he didn't realize the danger of this move, and he didn't realize that opening up the position at such an early stage could cause him incredible problems, and I mean quickly. So he played with the move of pawn there. Now, one of you asked, okay, Valeri, why not get rid of his bishop so he can take the pawn? Because he's not going to give it. See, if I play knight xd, he'll likely do queen takes d. He's going to defend the pawn. So if I capture it, then there will be queen takes f7. So, I mean, it doesn't look so bad, but I wouldn't have really made anything that scary, that dangerous. Maybe in this case, he could even do f takes d. Okay, he can't lose a knight, but f takes d, rook f7. That's just not going to do much. Rook f8. No, well, it was possible, but I didn't want to. Maybe even knight x d6 could work, and with an idea of d4. No. Something else. Let's talk about this position. It's a pretty critical position, and he's breaking up. Now, in any game that you play, at least for a few times, you will encounter positions like this. I'd call them critical because they are. He's breaking open. He's trying to challenge. He'd love to attack and quickly move ahead. He's doing it really well. And so the question we have really is, as black opens up, what should we do so we can, solidify or consolidate the position and just make things right? So black's attacking, and we've got to figure out what to do next. So what do you think white has to do now? Let's see if anybody has a suggestion. Is there a special method of training to help us find such moves? I don't know what you're actually talking about. Is there a special method of training to find good moves? No special method. There are many methods. I'm explaining to you some important practical ideas that you can take into your games and think about those. When you learn to think about those on a regular basis, that's when you start applying them. Is there a special super secret, like 007 method to figure them out? No, there isn't, But yeah, so the methods are all around. Just take one and think about exercise and doing it in your games. The bishop looks a little bit passive, maybe activated soon. Yeah, maybe. But we got to think about the position now. H4 is fine, but I don't feel like it's going to make that much trouble. He's going to play d6 to the c. See, critical position is a very interesting topic because it's covered by many grandmasters, and even in that bundle that I was actually telling you about, it has some interesting lectures exactly on that topic. As I said, it's like 75 hours of video training, so it has a lot of content. But one of the things that I really liked about it is that grandmasters shared their way of seeing the position, which is why I recommend you to consider getting it, because it's like a really good course that you could study for a long time and really improve your chess. Now, pawn at the d5 is what black does, but how are we supposed to respond it? Now, I want you to think a little more about it. Just keep looking. I'm not going to tell you to move. C5, one of you suggested. Could this be played? I think so, but then black would have done knight b3, and he'd really dominate. With the threat of d4, perhaps if I move my queen, he'd still do it and then capture my pawn. No, I didn't want to. See, knight d6 didn't work either, so I had to find something else. Anyone? c6d. Yay, we have a winner. That's it. Simplifying the position. See, when you find yourself in a trouble or difficult position, it's good if you simplify, because simplifying will kind of exchange the good pieces, and then what's going to happen is that you will easily get rid of the trouble. My idea with this move was very simple. If I was going to exchange the pawn on the d5, then my opponent's threats or challenges wouldn't exist. His tactics would pretty much fail, and I can do anything I want. Well, I kind of like the prospect. Trade, takes, and queen g3. My ideas were two: making sure that I stabilize the position and making sure that I keep it simple. You see, when you do these two things, you don't put yourself at a risk. But on the contrary, you make sure everything's under control. When you make sure everything is under control, you can be very successful because you will know exactly what squares to cover, what possibilities are necessary, and I love that. I really did. And so it just looked good now. Queen is protecting everything. The rest of the pieces are also fairly useful and kind of helped out, to be honest. Looks good. So what happens in this moment is he doesn't get to attack me. He doesn't get to threaten. Queen g3 was the moment I fought. So knight d5, what about that? Well, I was actually on an x-ray. He was going to take my knight, and then if I captured, then there would have been knight takes d5. So I knew this is not going to work. But queen g3, on the other hand, helps out a lot. It's a good defense on g5. It's the two rooks that I have out there, a very good protection. And then in case of d takes d, then there's knight takes d4, knight f6, it hits the king, goes against the h7. Pretty cool, eh? It's a good thing. So actually after that, I felt good. You see, now you need to understand something about chess. Now that may sound silly as opposed to many things that you people have heard. But chess isn't really about outplaying your opponent, because outplaying takes incredible precision and great technique. Only the great players like Karpov, Fischer, and even Carlsen, they know how to outplay because they have an incredible skill. For us, the people who make a lot of mistakes, the people who have many flaws in our games, and I'm talking about even master level players, really, it's not about outplaying. You still want to play stronger than your opponent, but it's really about making positions in which you simply do less mistakes than your opponent. It's really that simple. Set yourself in a position that's more stable, it's more secure, and one in which you're going to make less mistakes than the opponent, because if you can make less mistakes than your opponent, you will be successful. Now, my idea with the queen to the g3 is that I can keep everything together, and then as that queen progresses and moves forward, I think I was very successful, and my opponent panicked. I mean, he really did. He should have just played rook e7, but I suppose he saw the danger in the d5. He saw the queen on h4, and he just made a mistake. He played knight d6. I think the reason for this move of his was that he just wanted to open the possibility of playing d4, and he figured out that if the queen moves and then he just jumps in with the knight on e5, he's going to control everything. But he was, oh my, he was so wrong here. Oh yeah, he was terribly wrong. Why? I'm not going to tell you. Not immediately, at least. You have to sort of find it yourself. What do you think White's got to do in this position? What should he play now? You know, the first time when I kind of saw that position, I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And yet I felt like this is good for me. I can't be bad. You know, sometimes you got to stop calculating. So many players do calculation and calculation and calculation. It's tiresome, and it doesn't lead to any result. Because, you know, 80% of the variations you calculate never happen in the game. It is useless. Now, is it useless to calculate? No, it's not. It's useless to overcalculate. Calculation, now listen to me carefully. The calculation is only important so you could see what line you have to choose and which one is the better as opposed to the other candidates. When you're certain about a line, you don't have to calculate. When you don't have a critical position, you can only calculate short. I didn't feel like I have to calculate edicts to the d5 or any of those moves because they weren't going to give me anything. It was just going to take, and my knight on f4 is pinned. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to let you to try and make the mistake. So let's just play queen h4. Queen h4 was a pretty cool move I did because it doesn't change the position. It lets black to kind of make the mistake, and it keeps the momentum I built on the king side. So essentially that momentum could help out later. Step by step. It's not boring. It's good. Careful chess. And now he was frustrated. He realized that suddenly d4, as he thought, does not work due to knight d5. My queen is no longer on the pin. And then in case that knight's taken, I'd take back and fork one of the pieces. If he captures with the bishop, I'd do knight takes d5, and that would open up the f file with a threat against f7. There's queen takes h7. There's the rook that's down there, so that's going to be bad. On the other hand, surely if he doesn't do this, it's a bad idea. b4 does not work, and most of his pieces are horrible. So he actually tries knight e7, hoping to get that knight away. So maybe that would keep him stable. He realized his mistake, but it was already too late. See, that was one of the problems he did. He just pushed up a little too quickly without thinking if that could harm his position. So what do I do now? A lot of my pieces feel great. I love them. Unfortunately, I feel like it's not that much. It's a good position, but you know, having a good position could be one thing, and trying to take the advantage is completely different. So, what to do now? Anyone? Is it a waiting move to play Queen Bishop f3? Sure, and I didn't want it. Queen g3 knighter. How can we take the pawn? We can take it. But no. I had a different idea. Knight d6. Absolutely, you good boy. No, I'm kidding. So this was a good move because, you know, actually after that move, it's like basically I'm getting ready to destroy the king's side by taking out one of his main guardians, one of his main defenders. And that was incredibly good because without that pawn, I was just going to really like target him. F7 is coming out next move, and that was God. That was really amazing. I didn't feel this will be the position I'm getting. Queen takes d6 seems most natural, but then I've got rook takes f7, queen takes f7, and then queen takes h7. Okay, like take. take. Yeah. Then queen takes h. Then I'm thinking that if he plays king e6, there's edicts to the d. I mean, two rooks are stronger than the queen, but not in this position. Yeah, you can trust me on that. Not in this. If he exchanges, I'll probably exchange 2 times. g6 falls. If he moves away with the king somewhere, I'm gonna play queen f7. I mean, you can see the rooks are completely and utterly useless in this moment. He couldn't do it. He really couldn't get in this position, so he actually played f takes d6. And I did rook f7, and then you played queen h8, and that's already great. So this looks like an awesome game. I mean, the rook is perfect, the queen is there, the black king is in danger, and the strategy has become incredibly successful. Every single move has helped me to build up the play and take this to the next level. Yes, I am kind of winning, but yeah, not really. Not yet, at least, in this moment. So what I have to do is just to figure out like a way to get the possibilities and to make something happen. So what am I supposed to do now? What's the right way to go? Hmm. Rook f6. Stay in the corner. Absolutely. Do you know what's the most important thing in the middle game? Probably going to say attacking. Yes, it's important, but it's not the most important. The most important thing in the middle game, actually, is the possibility to restrict your opponent. And more importantly, keep him there. When you get to restrict your opponent and you get to keep him there, or hold them a little bit more on the backside out there, that's the way to follow in this type of position. And so, like, actually, this is very, very important. What I do in this case is rook f6. I wanted to hold him in this position a little bit more. I wanted to keep him back there in this case, and so we have like three of the great attackers challenging the h7, keeping pressure against the b7, and the black king is awful. So I love that. Rook 1 to f6 was great. He took the pawn on d3, thinking that maybe this is going to give him a chance, but it didn't. I just took d5. Takes. Okay, e5 doesn't work due to the d5, d6, and it's just he took. And then, actually, first he took with the knight, hoping to exchange some more pieces. I mean, taking with the pawn would have been also bad, because if he took with the pawn, I would have probably played something like queen to d4, attacking the knight, and then if he comes back with the knight, it's just a technique here. That's why I'm not even asking you to find out some great moves. So then it could be queen a7, knight b5, whatever. Just it's perfect. He decided let's exchange. So exchanging takes. And here's my question to you guys. Think of it. There's a lot of restriction. There's much power, and there is a lot of great sequences. So, what do you think what White has to do right now? See, actually, this is interesting. Three pieces out there are quite powerful, quite good. But get the bishop into the game. Queen d4. You are right. But remember what I told you was the most important thing in such a position? The most important was that I coordinate. Absolutely. This is a great idea. That's what we've got to do in this position. We have to keep going. We have to keep moving forward and forward and forward in this type of position. So, yeah, that was it. I really felt like I needed to do it, and it didn't stop me. So, just what's the best idea to come forward, to come by? The move I played was queen h6. Rook takes g6 now looks like a real threat coming closer. But more importantly, I can just take on b7, can let him there, and you see there's the stake. If the capture happens after the h takes to the g, queen takes g, I'm going to deliver a checkmate from f7, so this is just too painful. And so you had only one chance. Let's try this. Hopefully, in order, if the rook takes in the d6, then there could be the move of rook to the e1 and then queen to e5, and you see, it could be a bit dangerous. So, what to do now as white? What should white do in this position? Okay, so that's fine. Let's talk about this. So what should white do now? Bishop takes d5, but then black will play queen to knight takes d or rook. Nah, I don't like that. It's not gonna work too well. Rook e7, absolutely takes down the only defender out there. So in fact, the key thing in this position is if he plays rook takes the e7, then there could be queen to the f8, and so this is a really, really good idea. And so one of the critical things actually in this type of position is to make sure that number one, you have the pressure. When you have enough pieces, when you have enough firepower and control, these can help you greatly to just hold them back there. Let me tell you, I didn't want to show you this game because I wanted to brag with beating a grandmaster. I've beaten other grandmasters. That's not about that. It's also 3 years ago. The reason why I showed you this game is because you could see the different elements working one after the other. Nice development, that worked out. So then there is the possibility for me to solidify the position, then go for it, then complete it. And then I start advancing. After development, there's this idea, advance. So first you develop, then you advance. Then after you advance, you just keep advancing. I mean, you really do this. This is a long process. This is a really, really long process in this case. And I had to do it because my pieces were all looking at the king side in the position. And then there was rook to f1. Then there was the move of g4, queen h4, g5, queen g3, queen e3. And it's like a lot of firepower, a lot of attacking possibilities available in this position. Many times I had the chance to change, but I didn't. I wanted to keep the momentum. Now, when the battle rages, and yet you had all that preparation, good development, and control, soon that's going to help you to transform. Just what happened with knight x to the e6. So the attack ultimately goes. It's just that you want to have the control. You want to have the support out there. Rook f7 plus the other rook coming, and everything worked out beautifully. So I hope you enjoyed this game as much as I did. If you want me to send it to you with my annotations, just send me an email to my email, valeri.lilov@gmail.com. I'm gonna post it on my on the chat, and or maybe you can just visit my website, which is tigerlilov.com. Now let's see what questions you've got. Do you think you were fortunate, Valeri, in this game? It seems like you didn't quite have the position you wanted. I did feel like I had the position I wanted, but to be honest, there are certain mistakes that I did. I missed some possibilities and things there. So yeah, just curious. Are you people using an engine? No, I don't feel like any student, anyone who wants to learn is going to use an engine. So don't you worry about that. Now, my whole idea was just to build up and plan, and it worked. So how to find those moves is what really makes a difference. So I got another question. Valeri, can you go back to when you first exchanged the bishops? I thought that was when you could have taken the white bishop with the knight. So let's see. I suppose you're talking about this position. When I first exchanged the bishops, are you talking about this position? So you say the question is, I thought that's when you could have taken the bishop with your knight. I don't understand. Maybe you're talking about the other bishop. Could that be the case? The bishop for the knight? Yeah, of course. I mean, I did take the bishop with the knight. Yes, that's true. I mean, oh, you mean like this bishop with the knight? No, that bishop had to protect my king. I couldn't have allowed it to take, so no problem. Because the position is not easy. There's many moves, but how to decide which are the winning? So now I gave you some guidelines. Now, don't forget to check the link below this video. The link below this video, I'm going to post it on the chat, has more than 75 hours of Grandmaster instruction at an incredibly cheap price with 60% off its normal price. So take a look at it. How do we develop this skill? Take a look at the scores. It's great. Covers critical positions, defenses, attacks, improving evaluation. It's brilliant. I really recommend you to check on it. It's fantastic. So what I want to do is I would actually like to show you an excerpt, a very interesting excerpt of a Grandmaster game that covers a little bit more of what you have to keep in mind when you play the middle game. So let's talk about that. And just give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. So this is the game that was actually played between two guys, Kuzmin and Sveshnikov, in 1973. It was a pretty exciting game, I have to say. And now one of you asked, okay, how many hours should you practice every day to become masters in the game? It's not about how many hours you practice. You can even practice 1 hour and still be a master. It's more about how you practice, what you practice on, and more importantly, how consistent you are. You can work on 10 hours every day and learn nothing if you don't know how to spend those hours. So it's really the way to go. You have to have a good program. I prepare a lot of training programs for my students so that they know how to study and what to study so they can get better. But yeah. So anyway, let's talk about this this game. So this is a very interesting game. It's wide to move, and he has a good position, I have to admit. He has a good game. What do you think White should do right now? How do you think you should plan or advance right here? I use an engine during analysis of my games because I need to know if I have the advantage and what's the best move. Am I wrong with that? No, you see, I don't think it's a bad idea to use an engine, but do it only just to check the tactical moments. Using an engine to analyze the game just defeats the purpose of analyzing. That's not good. So let's talk about, let's see, what's White supposed to do now? One of you said Queen h5 or Bishop e5. Let's comment on those moves. Queen h5 here isn't bad. but it's not going to work because Black would just do f5. You see, it's a good candidate. I mean, as I said before, you want to create pressure and make him worry and fear and trouble himself. That's not bad. But I didn't feel like this was going to really help me all that much. So, Queen g4, the same thing. He plays f5, he solidifies, he has a good game, and he'll feel great about that. Nope, that doesn't work either. Could we sacrifice, perhaps? You know what? We could think about that. But you see, before you sacrifice, you have to know this is a big move. So if you're going to make it, you better figure out exactly what it will lead to. In case of the exchange, takes, check, and queen king g8, the most that I could do probably was bishop takes g7, but then Black was just going to take it back with his king. And it was nothing. You know, it's nice, but that's about it. Not much can happen from this. So what I wanted to do was to look for something else. Look for something different. What level is this for? I am a 1700 and my tactics is 1900. I'm trying to make it for every level because you see some basic concepts work on 1200 and they work on 2200. So this, today's lecture is for players for pretty much any level. And unless like they're like super beginners or like 1,000 or so or less, you could all learn from this. So Queen to c2 is fine, but then Black would do h6. Now, I want to tell you this. When you start thinking of a position and you want to find out the best move, start by thinking about what you don't have. And I mean, seriously, think about that. What is it that you don't have? We have a good-looking bishop, another good-looking bishop, and a queen. But what we don't have, or what we're missing, is this knight. If you think about that knight on a4, you suddenly realize that this knight has virtually no value there. It's being on the back side. It helps in no way. So we have to get this. So basically, white Grandmaster Gennady Kuzmin started with knight b6. The point of this move is to exchange the black knight from its central position and remove it from the kingside defense. That way, he cannot go to f6 anymore. And something we realize is that if black actually plays rook b8, for instance, we can even double the pawns or go in the way we happen in the game. So actually, black played. I mean, what would you do rook b8? What would you do after rook to the b8? Does anybody have a suggestion what should be white's best way to go? I mean, it's great to have that knight there. It looks good. But what do we do now? Fans? Well, I remember when you were a really great fan of attacking on the king side or even sacrificing there. So I gather it will be a good moment for me to tell you that this is the move. We can sack, and then we can check, and then we can sack again, and then we can take the d5, and then after edicts to the d5, it's going to be, or cedicts to the d5, it's going to be a great idea because we could just, destroy him by checking. And then rook f3 plus rook h3 if he goes here. If he goes here, there will be queen g5 and rook e1. So it's amazing. That was awesome. And it was awesome also what happened in the game because the same thing went. Knight takes b6, takes, check, back, then the bishop takes g7. And as the black king captures it, then we got queen g4. I mean, a lot of people would never even see the sacrifice, or like that for the sacrifice to work, the knight on d5 has to be removed because otherwise it doesn't work in the beginning. And yet I want to tell you, if you have to think or if you have to find a move like knight b6, don't look necessarily for the move, but look more importantly as what's wrong. People rarely remember to think about what's wrong in the position. And as you could see, in this case, it wouldn't have worked because after the move of queen to the g4, black could just do this one. Now you're probably wondering, Valeri, rook f3 leads to a checkmate, but it doesn't. He'd have knight takes f4. I wanted to show you this so that you could see why white needed that knight removed. In that particular case, even if you try to go back with the rook on f3, black would just play bishop g5 and he'd feel safe. There's hardly any challenge. He's gonna stick to the plan. King goes to g6 and he's safe. Wow, this was so interesting. Knight b6 is a move you can find even without seeing the combination. You just have to ask yourself the question, what's missing? Like, what's just not there? And finding out the knight helps you to find a combination. So I really wanted to thank you guys for joining me tonight. It was a really good session, I hope. I loved your suggestions and your input. If you want to join, I'm gonna be here next Saturday at the same time. And if anyone wants me to send you some materials or training files or whatever, just don't forget to email me or visit my website, tagalilov.com. Also, I do encourage you to check the package that is right below the video. It's 60% off for more than 70. I just learned it's more like 75 hours of training. And I do encourage you to have a look at that and get it, study, and become a master. Thank you. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you next Saturday.